Thank you, Kikashan, for the introduction, and thank you for holding such an important webinar at this important juncture of our time. And greetings of peace to my distinguished panelists and all the participants. I believe, in the saying, great minds think alike. And what I have heard from the previous speakers, Ms. Espinoza, Ibrahim, and others, are in general in sync of what I wanted to say. So I will try to skip off some of the things because it's obviously clear in the minds of the people who are in the international workspace know exactly what is needed to be done. So let me put it this way, as working on faith and religions and the environment, so I would like to answer those two questions from that perspective with the faith actors and environmental issues in mind. And Kekashan, I've spoken before in a couple of webinars that you have organized and in many others, why engaging with faith communities is a game changer. But let me simply say, and to put it in perspective, that more than 85% of the global population of humanity associate themselves to a religion, and their behaviors are driven by religious teachings and principles. And whenever a person finds, a problem, they resort to God or whatever they worship, and they go to their houses of worship to seek guidance from God. So religions have very much importance in our daily lives. Let us also reiterate that faith-based organizations and faith-based investment institutions are the fourth largest economic power on earth, and they manage assets of trillions of dollars. So they are powerful players. While I will focus on the faith actors, I'm sure everything else cuts across whatever has been said in other contexts. So first, what do we need? We need strong multilateralism and interfaith collaboration, as mentioned before. So we have seen that nationalism is rising. While it does give a sense of belonging and commitment to national priorities, but nations and faith groups working alone provide temporary and geographically limited solutions, taking into consideration that environmental issues know no borders. So we need a strong, reinvigorated, and inclusive multilateralism to ensure that national efforts are maximized, but also global common goods are dealt with collectively, such as the issue of climate change and the pandemic. The UN charter, as mentioned by you and by all the other speakers, started by saying we the peoples of the United Nations, and did not say we the governments or we the nations came together. No, it said we the peoples of the United Nations. So the UN was, when it was established in 1945, it was established to deal, as you mentioned, Kekashan, to deal with the impact of world wars. But today, we are also facing a different type of world wars, be it fighting climate change or extinction of species or COVID-19 or poverty or what have you. These are global wars that we are fighting. So over the years, many international agreements, including multilateral environmental agreements mentioned by Ibrahim and others, brought humanity together in addressing many issues, but we have not lived up to our commitments. Multilateralism is the only way to make a meaningful collective effort. And let's look at the Montreal Protocol, for example, for the ozone layer, as a great example of collective global success. Why it did succeed? Because the entire world came together and implemented the agreement. Interfaith groups have been driving some collective actions on many fronts. But better coherence, coordination, and collaboration would not only mobilize billions of people, but will also drive more peace and tolerance to the international community. My second point, leadership at all levels. If we look around and consider success stories of global impact, we will see that there has been a leader behind the vision and the implementation. Whether the leader is a political figure, an individual, an organization, a group of people, or a religious leader, leadership is key to mobilize people to act or actually not to act. From the perspectives of religion and the environment, we have Pope Francis as an example, who has been key in mobilizing not only Catholics, but the international community with his vision in Laudato Si and his inspiration to action by the organizations that he has adopted or that have adopted his vision. UNEP is also taking the leadership role through its Faith for Earth initiative and is mobilizing the faith communities in sharing knowledge, building capacity, mobilizing local action, facilitating policy dialogue, or bridging the gap between sciences and faith teachings. And having mentioned sciences, my third point is that science is essential to drive our sustainable future. And let me ask a question here. When we feel sick, don't we go to a doctor who is equipped with the scientific knowledge and trust him or her with our lives? Don't we go to a mechanic when our cars break down to fix our cars, and that is based on science of machines and automobiles? Then why, when we face global existential threats such as climate change, we start doubting the science? We need the science that can reinforce the consensus on policymaking options, identify solutions, and guide actions for environmental sustainability. But science not translated into a language that drives action by the ordinary person will not drive movements to act. This is what we are doing at the Faith for Earth initiative, linking scientific evidence to spiritual teachings. And my fourth point, sustainable investment and green economy, as was alluded by my colleagues. We need a new economic paradigm that is inclusive and green, and we need all hands on deck, whether governments, the private sector, financial institutions, or faith-based investment institutions that are, as I mentioned, the fourth largest power on earth. As you all know, there is a church, a mosque, or a temple in every corner of the world. These hundreds of millions of houses of worship can be models of green and sustainable buildings. And faith institutions do invest in or deal with companies that pollute the environment. A global faith and interfaith divestment movement is a key driver to shift towards impact investment that has social, economic, and environmental benefits. We have seen already more than 40 faith organizations have committed to divestment, but this is not enough. This needs to be scaled up and be the norm and not the exception. However, we also need a new system of measuring economic growth. The existing gross domestic product, GDP, has been proven time and again as an inadequate measure and does not account for the cost of environmental degradation and does not include natural resources as part of the economic capital. So we need to create a new measure, which I call the Sustainable Development Domestic Product, as an inclusive measure taking into consideration the socioeconomic and environmental factors. And finally, while indeed technology, innovations, policies, green economy, sustainable financing systems, divestment, and many other measures are very important and should be pursued by all of us, behavioral change is a key in making all this work. Individual and collective actions need to be based on ethical, value-driven, and moral responsibility towards the people and the planet. And in concluding, we must not forget the power of youth. As some of you have put it, you are 50% of the current global population, but you are 100% of the future. And I hope you will join us and be part of the Youth Council we are creating as part of the